Have you ever watched someone's eyes change instantly and felt the whole conversation quietly tilt? You know that strange moment when their face stays normal, but something behind it suddenly hardens. It happens in dating, friendships, offices, family dinners, and random exchanges that should feel completely harmless. A name comes up, a joke lands wrong, a compliment appears, and their eyes change first. Not dramatically, not theatrically, just enough for your brain to whisper that something is suddenly different. Most people dismiss that feeling because the words still sound polite, calm, warm, or completely ordinary. But the mind notices mismatch faster than logic, and eyes often leak it before language catches up. That is why a tiny shift can feel louder than a full sentence. You may have noticed this after asking an innocent question and getting an answer that sounded fine. The voice stays smooth, the smile stays present, but the eyes stop agreeing with everything else. That is usually the part that unsettles you, because it appears before explanation and resists easy labels. People love saying it means nothing, that you imagined it, or everyone does that randomly. Sometimes that is true, because humans get tired, distracted, anxious, overstimulated, and socially clumsy. But strange eye changes are often emotional traffic signals, not meaningless glitches floating through conversation. They can point to conflict, attraction, defensiveness, resentment, fear, guilt, surprise, or sudden mental calculation. The important part is not one glance by itself, but what that glance interrupts. A relaxed rhythm breaks, attention narrows, blinking changes, and your body registers the shift immediately. Before you form a thought, you can already sense something moved under the social surface. That early feeling matters, because social perception often starts as pattern detection before becoming conscious explanation. You do not need mystical intuition to notice it, just attention to tiny emotional timing. Eyes shift when the inner reaction arrives faster than the socially acceptable response can be prepared. That is why the real signal is rarely the sentence itself, but what surrounds it. A pause that barely exists, a gaze that leaves, a focus that suddenly turns inward. Those micro-reactions often reveal emotional friction, especially when the spoken response tries to appear effortless. Someone says, "Of course," yet their eyes tighten like they are negotiating something private. Someone smiles at praise, but their eyes go distant like they disappeared from the moment. Someone keeps eye contact too long after a simple remark, and the stillness starts feeling loaded. These are not guaranteed confessions hiding in plain sight, but they are rarely completely empty. The eyes react because attention reacts, and attention reveals what the person cannot fully smooth out. That matters because attention always moves toward tension, value, threat, desire, memory, or unresolved emotion. If their eyes change instantly, something inside them just became more important than staying perfectly neutral. And once you notice that, ordinary moments start revealing much more than people intend. Maybe it happens when you mention a person they claim not to care about. Maybe it appears when you ask if they are okay and get an immediate smile. Maybe it surfaces during a harmless joke, when their face cooperates, but their eyes do not. You have probably felt this before without having words for why it stayed with you. That is because the brain stores emotional inconsistencies, especially when they arrive wrapped in normal conversation. A clean, honest reaction usually feels simple, even when it is uncomfortable or disappointing. A conflicted reaction feels different, because two messages arrive at once and your mind compares them. One message comes from the words and the other arrives through timing, eyes, and tension. That double message is what makes certain moments strangely memorable, even when nothing dramatic happened. You walk away thinking nothing happened, yet you keep replaying the exact second their eyes changed. The first reason is emotional mismatch, when expression and inner feeling stop moving together. People can control sentences more easily than they can control instant attention shifts. So when emotion spikes quickly, the eyes often show the draft before the final edit. The second reason is hidden significance, where one word activates memory, fear, pride, jealousy, or desire. The topic looks small to you, but inside them it touches something charged and unfinished. The third reason is self-monitoring, when people suddenly wonder what you just noticed. Their eyes change because attention splits between feeling something and managing how they appear. That split creates hesitation, and hesitation is often the first clue that emotions are not settled. You can see this in a simple compliment, which seems harmless on the surface. You tell someone they look great, and they smile a fraction too late. Most people assume shyness, awkwardness, or ordinary surprise, then move on without thinking much. But the delay can sometimes mean the compliment hit a complicated place inside them. Maybe they wanted your approval more than they admitted, so the reaction arrived loaded. Maybe they do not believe the praise, so their face agrees before their emotions do. Maybe they are suddenly calculating what your words mean for the relationship between you. The strange part is not the compliment itself, but the tiny pause before acceptance. That pause can reveal uncertainty, suspicion, longing, embarrassment, or a private hunger for reassurance. None of those meanings are certain alone, but the delayed eyes tell you something moved. Another familiar moment happens when someone answers warmly while avoiding your eyes completely. You ask a direct question, they sound kind, but their gaze slips sideways almost immediately. Most people assume they are just nervous, introverted, tired, or uncomfortable with eye contact. Sometimes that is exactly right, which is why context always matters more than performance. But if the warmth sounds polished while the eyes keep escaping, something else may be happening. They may be protecting a feeling that the words are trying to cover smoothly. They may agree socially while disagreeing emotionally, and the gaze leaves to reduce exposure. They may know more than they want to say, and eye contact feels too revealing. When people feel internally divided, eye contact can feel like standing too close to truth. So they keep the tone friendly while their attention quietly searches for an exit. You notice it before words explain it, because avoidance changes the rhythm of connection. The body feels that missing rhythm, and that is often why the moment lingers. A third moment is even stranger because it looks like confidence at first glance. Someone holds eye contact too long after an ordinary comment, and the air changes. You say something simple, maybe teasing, maybe neutral, and they just keep looking. Most people read that as power, attraction, boldness, or perfectly controlled personality. Sometimes it is confidence, but prolonged stillness can also signal active emotional processing. They may be stunned, irritated, challenged, intrigued, or deciding how much to reveal next. The length of the gaze matters because normal conversation usually breathes and moves naturally. When the eyes hold too long, the mind may be suspending action to evaluate something important. That is why prolonged eye contact can feel magnetic in one moment and unsettling next. The eyes are not just looking at you, they are organizing an internal response. And when that response stays unfinished, the gaze can freeze longer than usual. What makes these moments powerful is not that they reveal secrets like a machine. It is that they expose friction between what is felt, shown, and verbally managed. That friction shapes trust faster than most people realize, especially in close relationships. You start sensing whether someone is open, guarded, sincere, threatened, interested, or quietly withdrawing. Often you do not know why yet, but your nervous system starts adjusting anyway. You pull back, lean in, soften, defend yourself, or suddenly become more careful. Tiny eye reactions can influence attraction, conflict, safety, embarrassment, and authority without a single obvious statement. That is why these moments matter at work, where politeness often hides real feelings. A manager says your idea sounds promising, but their eyes flatten for half a second. A colleague congratulates you warmly, then looks away exactly when your success becomes specific. A friend says they are happy for you, but their stare goes distant. None of these prove jealousy, dishonesty, or hostility alone, but they invite closer observation. The clue is not the label, but the mismatch between message, timing, and visible response. In dating, these signals can shape entire connections before either person understands why. Someone says they're relaxed around you, but their eyes sharpen when commitment appears. Someone laughs at your joke, then glances down when you mention meeting again. Someone acts casual, but a single name makes their eyes lose warmth instantly. These moments matter because attraction and fear often arrive together, then fight for control. The eyes sometimes reveal that argument before the person has chosen a social version. In friendships, the signals can expose resentment long before anyone admits tension exists. A simple boundary, A small success or an honest opinion can trigger instant eye changes. The words stay friendly, but the eyes briefly show how costly your independence feels. That matters because many relationship problems begin as tiny repeated mismatches. Nobody addresses directly. People usually argue later about the sentence, while the real reaction happened earlier. The eyes shifted before the explanation, and the emotional truth often entered there first. This does not mean you should become suspicious of every nervous blink you witness. One isolated signal proves almost nothing because people are messy, tired, stressed, and distracted. Context matters more than one glance, and patterns matter more than one unusual second. Clusters tell the story better than isolated movements, especially when the same mismatch repeats. Notice what topic appeared, what emotion followed, and whether the reaction keeps returning. Notice if the eyes shift with certain names, certain questions, or certain kinds of closeness. Notice whether the facial expression matches the timing or arrives slightly after the eyes. Notice sudden stillness, delayed smiles, quiet tension, and how fast eye contact breaks. These are simple things, but they can change how you read a moment. They help you separate genuine ease from managed ease, which feels similar but is not. Genuine ease flows without much repair, while managed ease keeps correcting itself quietly. That correction often appears in the eyes first, because attention cannot fully fake relaxation. You do not need to accuse, diagnose, or overinterpret what you notice. You just need to respect the signal enough to stay curious instead of dismissive. Sometimes curiosity protects you from trusting too quickly when words seem smoother than reality. Sometimes curiosity helps you become kinder, because the strange reaction might be pain, not deceit. The goal is not paranoia, but perception that stays balanced, human, and emotionally intelligent. When their eyes changed instantly, your mind may have noticed hidden tension before your thoughts did. That is often what subtle reactions reveal, not certainty, but pressure where words want control. The deepest reactions are often the quietest, because real conflict rarely announces itself loudly. And the people who understand that usually see social reality more clearly than everyone else. If this sharpens something you have felt before, that is exactly what Novi Mind is for. Share one strange eye reaction you noticed in real life, because those details reveal more than people think. And if you want sharper instincts for hidden motives, subscribe and stay close to Novi Mind. If you stay curious here, you will keep catching the quiet moments most people miss completely. Because the smallest reaction in the eyes can change everything you think a conversation means. The next video explains why some smiles feel warm instantly, while others leave you oddly tense.